is KEE-HONG Lau. He's the creative director of Factory International. We have Paul Cooper, COO of ESSENCEMEDIACOM in the north. Louis Georgiou, VP Engineering, AGENTIC Intelligence and CHOREOGRAPH. Mike INGALL, Chairman, CEO and founder of Allied London. And last but certainly not least is Andy Burnham, the Mayor of Greater Manchester. Welcome to the stage, the panel. Thanks, Vicky. Good luck.
It's a great venue.
I cried.
Hello, can everyone hear me? Excellent. Thank you, and I just wanted to kind of do a little introduction on the video to this panel. Today's about a celebration of the industry, the creativity, the innovation, I think, in this region for me. And anyone who knows me knows how passionate I am about that, and bang on about it for hours. And I think I've found kind of 4 people that are more passionate than me about it. So very, very quickly, I just want to do a 2-minute introduction before we get into the meat of the questions. I don't think our mayor needs any introduction. Our mayor since 2017. Member of Parliament for 16 years and various cabinets, and I think is intrinsically linked with the success of the city over the past decade. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
We've got Mike Ingalls, who I think needs, specifically, I met Mike probably 10 or 15 years ago, and he's been responsible for a lot of the urban generation and development around, particularly in St John's. Your vision for St John's was 10 years in the making, an enterprise city. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks.
And we've got Louis, born and bred in Stretford, who is now Senior Vice President for WPP's CHOREOGRAPH of AGENTIC Intelligence. So thank you, Louis. And we've got KEE-HONG, who is creative director for Factory, so he kind of curates everything that's in this space. And we're going to talk to him a little bit later on. He's recently taken up the post and moved halfway across the world. So he's going to tell us about the pull of creativity of Manchester from the other side of the world. But before we kind of, now we've introduced everyone, my first kind of question is to Andy. A little start on the video before was I think the creative services, the Manchester GBT per capita, I get that right, has grown 44% in the last 10 years. You tell a very good story about growing up and graduating in Manchester in the 90s that resonates a lot with us, where those opportunities weren't there. Why do you kind of think that particularly the economy in the Northwest and the creative services industry has boomed so much over the past decade?
Well, thanks. Good afternoon, everyone. It's just brilliant to see this event taking place up here. Thanks to everyone who's brought it to our city. And what about this venue? Hey, not bad, is it? It's all right, isn't it? And another sign of the kind of way in which the city's changing. Yeah, just to say quickly a little bit about my own journey, and then to answer the question. I came back to this city in 1991 from university. Tried to work in creative industries and journalism specifically. Kind of sent CV after CV to the Old Granada there and BBC on Oxford Road and everywhere. And obviously this was a city that wasn't in a good place back then. Things had closed, things had left. The only job I could find after sending thousands of CVs was as an unpaid reporter on the Middleton Guardian, and that was my first job out of university. But there's only so long you can be an unpaid reporter on the Middleton Guardian. And I had to do what I think, maybe this would be true for people in the audience on this panel even, anyone born in the late 60s, early 70s in the northwest of England, came a point if you wanted to truly get on in life, you had to go south. And that's what I had to do, and lived in London in the 90s. And obviously that experience never leaves you in terms of what you then want to do when you're in a position like I'm in. So why are we doing well now? Obviously, there was somebody called Sir Howard and Sir Richard. There's lots of people before me who, following the, if you like, the events of the 90s, IRA bomb in city centre Manchester, the transformation of the city, the Commonwealth Games, there was a journey that's been built. But to bring it up to date, in the last decade, Greater Manchester has been growing significantly faster than the UK economy. So we've been growing just under 3% a year on average over those 10 years. England or UK average has been 1%. We've been growing faster than London, although there's still a big productivity gap. Why has that happened? I think it's a combination of things. I think it's devolution of power. The city's been given the ability to do more for ourselves. I hope we're using it well. I hope you think we're using it well, because I think that creates an environment in which people feel there's energy, there's agency, and that's certainly the kind of the Manchester that we want to be about. I like to think we're a bit of an island of sanity in a increasingly mad world, mad up north. Well, we're not so mad here. We're trying to keep our approach stable, long-term approach, pro-business, entrepreneurial, but always kind of with an eye to our kind of obligations and our conscience, and I think that fits with the way a lot of businesses think and feel, isn't it? You know, you kind of have an entrepreneurial approach, but you never kind of walk on by on the other side, and that's very much the spirit we embody. When it comes to culture and creativity, we continue to invest as a city region, and we never have stopped, actually, even in the tough times. We continue to back our big cultural organisations. Look at this amazing place where we are now. In fact, when I was Culture Secretary in Gordon Brown's government, he gave me the job on one condition, that I went into the House of Commons the next day and cancelled the Manchester Super Casino, which I was like, gulp, really? You're going to make me do it? You're going to make me ring Sir Howard Bernstein and tell him that? Which I had to do, and I did as a new Culture Secretary. And Howard being Howard, he went, all right, Andy, what are you giving me in return? And I said, well, what do you want, Howard? I want an opera house in Manchester. And to cut a long story short, this is it, and this is what they got out of that decision. I hope it's okay, because Manchester never ever got done over like that, and that's why we are where we are. But I guess, you know, the kind of final piece I would say is, you know, it's been built over a long time. We've been true to an approach that I've not changed, by the way. I kind of take that firm approach, but always coming forward with solutions. I think we are hopefully a good place to be. And I think, why are we doing really well when it comes to creativity? I think we've kind of passed the tipping point now with my generation. I don't think you have to go south to get on in life anymore. I think you can stay in Manchester as a young person and have as exciting as a career as you would have once had to go to London to get. I think even something else is happening. There's a reverse migration coming up from London now, because I think people in their 20s in London realise that you can have a much better life in Manchester. You can have a flat in the city centre. You can have a job that's equally as good. You can watch some better football teams, although maybe that's not the best thing to say right now, but you generally can. You've got a music scene, you've got countryside on your doorstep, and I kind of feel that talent is coming up here, actually. 13,000 Londoners have relocated to Manchester in the last 3 years, young Londoners. So I think for all of those reasons, it's the talent, isn't it? That's what everyone tells me. It's the talent. We've got our own talent that we're trying to bring through, but at the same time, people are coming to study here, people are staying here, people are moving here. It's kind of all happening in Manchester right now.
Excellent, and I think I'll come back to you in a minute around that talent and connecting the talent pipeline through technical education, because I think that's really important. But taking on that theme and kind of creating the talent, creating spaces for the talent to prosper, Mike, I want to kind of come to you for a minute, because when we kind of first, I think you first shared your vision for Enterprise City with me 8, maybe even 9 years ago, and working in an industry that long-term in media and marketing is anything that doesn't cost him within the next 12 months. Talking to someone who thinks in decades really is kind of quite enlightening. Can you just talk to us a little bit around kind of the thought and the planning that goes into creating a kind of what is a creative heart of Manchester?
In actually my industry at the moment, 12 months is a very long time, I tell you, particularly with politically what's happening around the world. But we're not going to go there, particularly not sat next to Andy, who I'm sure knows a lot more about it than I do. We didn't meet we met about 20 years ago, because I built a building for you in Spinningfields. You did. And I formed a joint venture with Sir Howard Bernstein in 1997. We never even had a scrap of paper. And he said, what are you going to do? I said, I don't know, Howard, but Manchester can have something big. And we produced spinning fields, which the deregulation of the banks in 1985-86 meant that the financial services were free. And suddenly, we're there looking at financial services, bigger accountants, bigger lawyers. That's all we had. But Manchester had to have its share of that. A lot of other cities in this country didn't get any of it. Birmingham got a little bit, but nothing like Manchester. And that was the foundation of something new. And cities are only as good as the employment and the story around employment. And you have to have a story. Whatever, if you're an individual or a corporate or a local authority, you've got to have a story. And we had one. And it was this thing called spinning fields, the regeneration after the bomb. And suddenly we had this massive urban regeneration story that Sir Richard and Sir Howard really caught up on. That lasted till, unfortunately, the financial crash in 2008. And we all go, what are we going to do? And then we look around, and myself and Sir Howard used to meet regularly once a month. And I was advisor to Granada TV for 15 years, trying to persuade them on behalf of Howard to stay here. Then he got me involved with BBC. We couldn't. We lost them. They went to somewhere called Salford, somewhere over the river. I still bemused why Manchester can't join up with Salford, but I'm not going to go there either. But anyway,
it's a bit better these days, aren't it?
I looked at the site, and we weren't the first buyer, and we went to see Charles Allen, chairman of ITV at the time, and he wasn't interested really. He wanted to get the maximum amount of money. Anyway, the world changed, particularly due to Brexit, and we got the opportunity. The DNA of this site and this area is 75 years old creative industries. Manchester is the home of commercial TV. It didn't start in London. It started here. And when you put that DNA with the heritage of the building, the Science Museum, the listed buildings you walked past, you start to see heritage. And what is heritage? It's culture. And what is culture? Well, it's the creative industries. And suddenly you say, well, where are the jobs for this city? And they're in the creative industries. They're also in life sciences, but I'll come on to that very, very quickly because I'm conscious of the time. So we set our product out to be a new neighbourhood of enterprise, living and culture. Andy's right. I was almost in the room when Sir Howard Bernstein got the call. He called me from France because I was helping him with the super casino. He said, we've got a problem, but can you get back from your holiday tomorrow? Sure.
And what expletives
went
about me?
Well, nothing. We went, no, he'd already, as you know.
He moves on quickly.
He had no anger in him at all, ever. I never saw anger. We immediately went. It was the opening of a graphene at Manchester University, the Graphene Institute. And he said, I come in this door. I went in this door. George Osborne is sat there. He said, tell George Osborne how important an opera house is for Manchester. And so we've got it. We've got culture, we've got enterprise, the 12 definitions of enterprise, the genre is media, it is art, it is design, it is music, it is fashion. And we set out to create a place that would encourage employment. Now, I'm conscious of the time, but so, and the next 15 years, this is only going to get bigger. Manchester is at the heart of the knowledge economy, and knowledge economy is going to employ a huge amount of people in the next 15 years. And this city is so well placed. So the building is amazing, the city is amazing, but we're at probably sort of chapter 1 of this story.
Agreed.
Fantastic, thank you. Keeping on the theme of culture, if I can come to yourself, because you've moved recently, 3/4 of the way across the world, three-quarters of the way across the world from Hong Kong to take up the position here. Kind of my question to you is in 2 parts. Why do you think culture, creativity is so integral to the culture in this region, and what made you travel that far to be a part of it?
Thanks, Paul. First, again, welcome to Viva Studios, the home of Factory International. I mean, this is really something that we want to celebrate. Thank you very much for the question, Paul. And I think what you're witnessing is really a product of what Mike and Andy was talking about earlier. You know, the first time I came to Manchester was in 2009 for the Manchester International Festival, the second edition of the festival. And I thought, I've worked like 20 years in Asia and Europe, right? I've never seen a festival that is so bold, that really the conversations of like popular culture, high art, to get engagement with community in a very deep way. It was unique in its nature. And in that sense for me, you know, I already then saw the incredible potential of a place like Manchester, a place of like the north of England. And in many ways, you know, when the role came up, it became a bit of a no-brainer to say this is the time to kind of come home. And in a way for me, I think what I saw in the north of England and Manchester then was the sense of potential. And arriving 3 years ago, I saw this potential exploding. You know, I can attest to Andy talking about young people moving up from London. We do these artist drop-ins every month. And I've met a range of young people that I thought I would never meet in my life. And a lot of them, you know, come from the fashion industry, design, advertising, music, performance, whatever. They felt that this is the time to be here in Manchester. And in that sense, you know, for me, it's the congregation of, I think, over the history of this part of England, you know, that kind of creative energy. You know, of course, those of us over a certain age, we talk a lot about hacienda. But like the younger people, of course, like, let's go beyond hacienda, because I think they're creating the future. And this is what I feel now. I work in the space of speculating futures quite a bit. And I, you know, Louis will talk about AI, you know, after me. But in a way, for me, you know, we live in a very difficult time in the world right now. And I think it is really that confluence of, I think, the aggregation of, I think, these minds in Manchester is going to give us solutions about the worlds that we want to be part of. How can we construct other ways of thinking, other ways of being, other ways of assembly? And I think relying on artists, and this is what we do every day, right? You know, at the Manchester International Festival or here at Factory International, we work with artists around the world to make incredible, inspiring work here, right here in Manchester, for the world. And of course, now that we have this building 365 days a year, we are bringing the world here to Manchester. Last week, we opened an incredible piece of work by the Netherlands Dance Theatre, Simon McBurney, Crystal Pite, called Figures in Extinction. I've never seen the assembly of the international dance world in one spot. And in a way, for me, this is testament to, I think, the energy that is attracting a lot of creatives from around the world, including myself, because we know that this right here is where the future belongs.
That's a great finishing line.
I'm going to steal all of that in my next
Go for it, Andy. Go for it.
I know we are running out of time, and I do want to come to Andy before the end, but Louis, it'd be good to just tell us a little bit about how a boy from Stretford 2 years ago started kind of playing around in your spare time building AI agents, is now the Senior Vice President for that globally for CHOREOGRAPH, WPP's data arm, and built a tool that has become the most used media AI agent across WPP in the world. So tell us a bit about that.
Sure. Well, I think probably the reason I'm on this panel with these titans is because I'm a full-on product of Manchester. So as Paul said, I grew up in Stretford. I went to Manchester Met in the early 90s. I think it was the first digital degree course in the country at the time. And then I started an agency in the late 90s that was, again, one of the first in Manchester at the time. Now that kind of digital and tech businesses are, literally hundreds or thousands of them. And so I know Paul because our agency Code joined ESSENCEMEDIACOM then in late 2016. And, I don't need to tell you all about the story of what's been going on in design, tech, creativity over that time. But then my world really changed, I think, as Paul says, 2 years ago. I think I discovered AI and became absolutely obsessed with the potential of AI. I think obsession's a very Mancunian trait as well. And I met someone who's in the crowd there, Kenny Skelton, who was equally crazy and obsessed with AI as I became. So between the two of us, we both had important full-time day jobs, but we just couldn't let AI go. And so we built, in our own time, we built a tool that was initially just used for our teams in Manchester for about 400 people. But then word of it got around the group, and before we know it, we've got about 11,000 people in 53 countries using this AI platform that we've built. And so I think it's just probably a testament to, when it's something that you believe in and you kind of really want to make it happen, just how important that's become. And yeah, and so now Kenny and I were part of this global team that's working across all of WPP. There's over 100,000 people globally. So it's quite proud that tools that we're going to be building are going to be used to kind of help supercharge our people in kind of, all their creative endeavours. So we're really excited. We want to make our campus here, just behind us, the WPP campus, we want to make that really like an AI centre of excellence to be renowned globally across WPP. So that's kind of our brief. So we're going to be building that team up. And so, keep
The mayor's going to demand it, Louis. I mean, now you've said it, I'm
You can hold me to it, Andy. We'll make it happen.
Thank you. It was worth coming.
He's put notes there.
Absolutely.
And keeping on the theme of talent, I just want to, I'm conscious we've only got 30 seconds left, maybe. I know you're very, very big on technical education. Myself and WPP and the whole creative services industry, including factory, are big supporters. And I think with the world, the pace that the world changes at the minute, bringing education closer to employers, so making sure that people have the opportunities, I think is a fantastic idea. Just if you could just kind of spend a few minutes sharing that vision and how you think that might disrupt the education system.
Absolutely. So I'm going to pick up on that point about the end of the first chapter, because I feel a bit like that. We've had a lot of change in the city, but a lot of people have moved here. But if you're a kid in one of our boroughs, do they yet feel this is their space and for them? I think there's a lot of work to do there. I always use this phrase, I think the kids can see the skyscrapers from their bedroom window, but they can't see themselves working in there, and they can't see a path for them to those places. So that next chapter is giving them that path. Once this place makes full use of all of that amazing streetwise talent that grows up here, then I think we do go up a big level. So I'm on a bit of a mission with this. If you were an unpaid reporter on the Middleton Guardian, firstly, you want to help all kids with their transport costs. So every young person growing up in Greater Manchester gets a free bus pass at 16 until they're 18 to say that we back you to get on and find your place. But here's the thing. We are unique in the UK in wanting to create an equal alternative to the university route. 2/3 of our kids don't go to university. And I wish it were more, but they don't. And I think we need an equal path for them, an academic path, a technical path. And those two things can cross over later on in life. Give them that path. So we're creating something called the Greater Manchester Baccalaureate, the MBAC. And the idea of this, at 14, kids can, get the same support if you're on the university route in terms of what's out there, what's available, what do you take at 16. And Louis actually did something with his team. He builds everything, by the way. I know this because he's done it for us. I said to my team, I want the kids in our schools who can see these skyscrapers to go online and actually see all the jobs that are in them, the salaries of the jobs, what the title is, who the company is. They can't see them at the moment, and you can't give them, if they've not got visibility, how can they be it if they've not got that? Yeah. So we created something called Beeline, or Louis did for us, where if you go on now and you look at our priority sectors, creative is one of them, green economy is another one, kids can go to the end of those sectors and see jobs being advertised now. And what we want to get to through the T-level reform is a work placement for every 16-year-old in this city who wants one of those 45-day work placements. We want the businesses to give us those opportunities, because what we find is when kids go through the door, the perspectives they start to give organisations massively are in the interest of the organisation as well as that young person. It's just making them feel they belong in these spaces, and that's a massive part of our next chapter. And when it comes to AI, just to say something about that, I honestly believe this place could be an AI demonstrator, because we have a degree of devolution here that's far better than anywhere else. But because of that, and because of Sir Howard and the way you work with the private sector, the community sector, academia, I would make a bold claim as mayor, but I'm going to say it. I think we're one of the most highly networked cities in the world because of the relationships between people, between organisations, between different sectors of the economy. And I think if you've got that, I think you've got the conditions to be successful in the space of AI. And we're pitching Greater Manchester now as an AI demonstrator. where organisations can come here and access our highly networked public data and data sets to start showing the use cases for AI. And that's really, really exciting. But I'm going to finish on this point. If you want to attack the talent as well, you've got to be the right place. And I loved everything that you said. It is about a place that is never going to ditch its progressive values in the kind of mad time that we've all said that we're living through, the slightly feeling of dangerous time. We're not turning our back on net zero, and we never will. We're always a place that brings on the new, that faces the future and doesn't get knocked off course just because there's a few political undercurrents around. So we're still on course to be a net zero city region by 2038. I think that appeals to the next generation. We're never going to say that being decent and respectful and employing people from all backgrounds is woke. We believe in that. That's what Greater Manchester is about, a place that employs people, whoever they are, from whatever background, and then takes their perspectives and makes organisations stronger as a result of it. So I just want to make this really clear. If that's not you and that's not your politics, well, fine, but it will always be us. It will forever be us. It's always been Greater Manchester. We are never going to change. We are not going to kind of ditch those values. And that's why I hope people will know what this place is. They'll know what it is about. Economic progress, yes, but always with social progress together, with a commitment to equality, a commitment to solidarity between people and communities. That's Greater Manchester. If you like it, come and join us.
Perfect. I don't think I can top that. I think just what's left to say. I think you can see why the economy and the industry with the passion and the capability that's just represented here on stage. So just want to say thank you very much, everyone, for giving up your time, and thank you, everyone, for listening.